An elderly man disappears from a mountainside in broad daylight without a sound. A physicist steps into Antarctica's white silence and never returns. And a young missionary walks straight into one of the world's most isolated islands, only to be dragged back out by death. These aren't just missing person cases. They're real stories of people who went where they weren't supposed to and never came back. So join us for today's video as we're going to look at 15 people who disappeared in forbidden locations, places where the line between fact and fiction is blurred. Number Quince, Guna Caves disappearances. Locals call them the Devil's Kitchen, and not just for drama. Deep in Kodaikanal, India, the Guna Caves are a tangle of narrow, jagged paths framed by towering roots and steep, rocky drops. As of 2016, at least 16 people have entered these haunting passageways, only to never return. Not one body, not one clue, just echoes. The caves themselves are chaotic. Cracks barely wide enough for a body to squeeze through, cliffs that disappear beneath your feet, and sudden temperature shifts that mess with your sense of direction. Some believe the place is cursed. Others swear it's haunted by ghosts. Authorities eventually had to close large portions off, sealing entrances behind iron bars. Still, thrill seekers find their way in, hoping for a story and risking becoming one. One group of young tourists came out short one person, and not a single shred of evidence explained why. The terrain swallows mistakes quickly. The caves don't warn you twice. If you go too deep, they might not let you back out. It's like an angry wife. Number 14. Steve Fawcett. Steve had survived the kind of dangers that would terrify most people into staying home. He'd crossed oceans alone, flown balloons around the world, and chased records like they owed him something. In September 2007, he took off from a private strip in Nevada in a lightweight single-engine plane, supposedly for a short flight over the Sierra Nevadas. He didn't tell many people where he was going. It was supposed to be quick, but he never came back. Rescue teams swept across hundreds of miles of open land. They didn't find Steve, but they did find pieces of other wrecks from decades past. For a year, nothing. Then in 2008, a hiker near Mammoth Lake stumbled on his ID and cash resting on the forest floor. That led search teams to what was left of the plane. It had slammed into a remote mountainside. The final report blamed strong downdrafts, but there were no distress signals, and some of his belongings were found far from the crash. Even with the wreckage found, people still argue the mystery never really landed. Number 13. Alaska Triangle disappearances. There's a vast stretch of Alaskan wilderness stretching between Juneau, Anchorage, and Barrow that locals call the Alaska Triangle. It looks like any other slice of untamed land, snow, trees, mountains, but its history is soaked in vanishing acts just like Devil Triangle. In this place, planes disappear mid-flight. Hikers walk into the forest and never walk out. Hunters go silent without a trace. In 1972, an aircraft carrying U.S. House Majority Leader Hale Boggs vanished over this zone. Despite massive searches, not one scrap of debris was ever found. And that wasn't a one-time fluke. People disappear here often, some are found later, and many are never seen again. In 2005, a group of seasoned hunters vanished without triggering a single distress signal. Not even GPS could trace them. UFO theorists, skeptics, and paranormal enthusiasts have all taken their turns trying to explain it. But the land doesn't give explanations. Whatever's hiding in the Alaska Triangle, it doesn't make noise. It just waits. And sometimes, it takes. Technology doesn't help. Experience doesn't protect. Some places simply don't play fair. Number 12. Maurice de Metz. In the spring of 1981, 84-year-old Reverend Maurice Doc de Metz went looking for topaz in Colorado's Pike National Forest just for fun. Despite pretty severe arthritis, he was determined, assisted by his friend David McSherry, who helped him get to the dig site. After hours of quiet rock hounding, McSherry left Doc for just 15 minutes to pack up tools. When he returned, Doc was gone. Just gone. No shouts, no rustling, no scuffle in the dirt. His tools had vanished too. Search teams combed the forest. Dogs sniffed every inch. Not a footprint. Not a scent. Nothing. Days turned into weeks, and after nearly a decade of silence, Doc was officially declared dead in 1990. But the mystery never softened. How does an elderly man, nearly immobile, disappear so completely? Some believe he simply wandered off and got lost, but the area had cliffs, nothing easy to stumble through. Others wonder if someone or something was watching. Well, whatever the truth is, Doc left behind no answers, just silence in the trees. Number 11. Paula Weldon. Paula didn't seem like the kind of person who would vanish. She was smart, quiet, and focused, just another student at Bennington College trying to unwind after a long week. On December 1st, 1946, she told her roommate she was going for a walk. No winter gear, no warning signs. She headed toward the Long Trail, a route woven deep into Vermont's wilderness. People saw her hiking alone that afternoon. An older couple even remembered warning her about the cold, then nothing. By Monday, she was missing. Local police got involved. Search dogs, volunteers, and even military support scoured the woods. But not a single clue turned up. Not a torn jacket, not a footprint, not a body. It was like the forest had erased her. Whispers of foul play, running away, or some deeper force followed. Some pointed to the so-called Bennington Triangle, a region infamous for swallowing people whole. But when the noise faded, one fact remained: Paula walked into the woods, and no one ever saw her again. All right, now, let's talk about number D's. Cameron Twiss. In October 2024, Cameron Twiss set off alone to hike the rugged trails between Vlorë and Theth, a path winding through the Albanian Alps. He never came back. A seasoned traveler from Australia, Cameron left his belongings behind at the hostel, planning to return by nightfall. But as hours turned into days, worry spread fast. Search teams fanned out across the forested slopes, using drones and dogs. But after 2 straight weeks, there was still nothing, no torn clothing, gear, or tracks. Some whispered about bears, but experts dismissed it. Bear attacks in that region are vanishingly rare. Then came the disturbing pattern weeks before Cameron vanished. 2 other solo hikers, a man from Lithuania and another from Belgium, disappeared on the same trail, same route, same eerie silence afterward. Locals have theories, most of them whispered and shrugged off by authorities. But those woods don't care who's listening. Whatever waits in the Valbona Valley doesn't seem to leave breadcrumbs. And now, it's claimed 3 more names. Number 9. Solva Bay. During World War I, Solva Bay saw more than its share of death and destruction, but one event in August 1915 still has historians and paranormal investigators scratching their heads. British soldiers advancing through Gallipoli were swallowed by what witnesses described as a silvery, unnatural cloud drifting along the forested coast. The cloud moved strangely, defying the direction of the wind, and it seemed to hover low as if it had a purpose. 16 officers and 250 men from the Norfolk Regiment marched into that mist. They were never seen again. Later, 180 bodies were found scattered near a small farm, some looking like they'd fallen from great heights. But no battle had taken place, no witnesses reported gunfire, and no records confirmed an aerial strike. What happened inside that cloud has never been explained. Some say it was a chemical weapon, others swear it was a portal, a cover-up, or something far stranger. Whatever the truth is, Solva Bay still holds the ghosts of men who never should have vanished. Number 8. Carl Disch. Carl Disch wasn't a reckless adventurer. He was a physicist, a man of precision, calculation, and logic. In 1965, he was working in Antarctica, one of the harshest, loneliest places on Earth, where you'll find just ice, ice, and more ice. On May 8th, He stepped out of a research outpost at Bird Station to return to the main base just over 2 kilometers away, a walk he'd made before. But he never made it back. A search team followed his tracks through the snow, but sudden weather erased the trail mid-rescue. The temperatures plunged. Visibility died, and Carl vanished. 6 years later, a strange transmission came through McMurdo Station. A voice claimed to be Carl alive. It was quickly dismissed as a hoax, but it rattled people. His body was never found. No gear, no evidence. Some still wonder if the message was real, if he wandered into a crevasse, if the landscape took him in and never let go. Out there in the endless white, even a man of science can vanish like smoke. Antarctica is an untouched, human-free place. Number 7. Geraldine Largay. Geraldine had been walking the Appalachian Trail for weeks when she vanished in 2013. The 66-year-old hiker, known for her journal entries and careful planning, wasn't inexperienced, just alone. On July 22nd, she stepped off the trail briefly to relieve herself. She never found her way back. Her phone had no signal. The text she tried to send her husband never went through. She kept writing in her journal for weeks afterward, documenting her deteriorating condition, her efforts to stay alive, and most heartbreakingly, her goodbyes. She wrote that if her body was found, someone must tell her family, that it mattered. 2 years later, a forestry worker stumbled upon her remains just 2 miles from the trail. Her camp was still intact. Her notes, rain jacket, and maps lay scattered nearby. She'd been so close to being rescued. Yet no one ever heard her cries. No one found her in time. Her story is a quiet kind of horror, slow, lonely, and devastatingly real. Number 6. John Allen Chau. John Allen Chau had conviction, maybe too much of it. In 2018, he set out on what he believed was a spiritual mission to bring Christianity to North Sentinel Island, home to a fiercely isolated tribe known for attacking outsiders. This island is so dangerous that the Indian government has banned all contact. And the reason is pretty simple. The Sentinelese didn't want visitors, but Chau believed his faith would protect him. After months of preparation, he paid local fishermen to get him close to the island. On his first attempt, he was met with arrows. He wrote in his journal that he didn't fear death. The next day, he returned. This time he got closer, and that was the end of it. Witnesses later saw his body dragged across the sand by the tribe. Officials couldn't retrieve it. It remains on the island to this day. Chau thought he was saving souls. The tribe saw a threat. In the end, neither side changed. One simply stopped existing. A brutal reminder some places aren't just forbidden. They're sacred in ways outsiders can't understand. Number 5. Flannan Isles. The Flannan Isles are just 7 slabs of jagged rock jutting out of the North Atlantic. Uninhabited, battered by storms, and barely visible from the Scottish mainland, these islands weren't meant for people. But in 1899, a lighthouse was built on the largest of them, Eilean Mar. A year later, 3 men vanished without leaving a single clear answer. Donald MacArthur, Thomas Marshall, and James Ducat were stationed there on a routine rotation in December 1900. On the 15th, a passing ship noticed the light wasn't shining. Days later, when their relief arrived, the lighthouse was still dark. Inside, a meal sat cold on the table. A clock had stopped. 2 oilskins were missing, but one man's coat was still hanging on its peg. There were no signs of a fight or a storm powerful enough to take all 3. Some believe they were swept away by a rogue wave. Others say madness or something stranger took hold. So what do you say? Number 4. Odessa sits catacombs. Odessa's catacombs aren't built for the living. Beneath the Ukrainian city lies a tangled maze of abandoned tunnels, over 1,500 miles of pitch-black stone stretching beneath homes, streets, and forgotten history. In 2005, during a New Year celebration, a teenager named Masha wandered inside with a group of friends. They were drinking, laughing, exploring. By morning, everyone had made it back out, except her. For months, Nobody knew what happened. Then, in April, cave explorers whispered about a body. A blurry photo surfaced showing 3 teenagers standing stiff beside something inhuman, half shrouded in shadow. The figure on the ground was curled on its side, partly decomposed, almost melted into the floor. That body was later confirmed to be Masha. Her death certificate was never made public. 2 years passed before officials quietly removed the remains after a journalist pressured them with evidence. No explanation was ever given. Now the catacombs are sealed in places, but thrill seekers still find their way in. Number 3. John Edward Jones. Nutty Putty Cave in Utah was already infamous for its narrow, unforgiving passages when 26-year-old John Edward Jones entered it on November 24, 2009. A medical student and father, John was no reckless thrill seeker. He was experienced, cautious, and with family that day. But one wrong turn changed everything. Mistaking an uncharted tunnel for the known birth canal, he crawled in headfirst and got stuck. Not sideways or halfway, but completely upside down in a passage only 10 inches wide and 18 inches high. The pressure on his chest worsened with each breath. Over 100 rescue personnel worked in shifts for over 27 hours. They tried everything. None of it worked. John remained calm, even comforting the rescuers. But his body eventually gave out from the position, the pressure, and the time. He died trapped beneath the surface, just a few feet from being saved. The cave was sealed with his body, permanently. Nutty Putty became a place no one will explore again, and no one will ever forget. Number C. Superstition Mountains. The Superstition Mountains rise just east of Phoenix, and while the name sounds theatrical, the disappearances tied to this rugged landscape are very real. For more than a century, treasure hunters have scoured the canyons in search of the lost Dutchman's gold mine, convinced a fortune is buried beneath the jagged stone. Many never made it back. George Johnston, head of the Superstition Mountain Museum, claims more people go missing here than in any other Arizona mountain range. Between the unforgiving terrain, sharp temperature drops, and stories of curses, the mountains seem to reject those who push too far. One of the most infamous cases was Adolph Ruth in 1931. He entered the range with old treasure maps and big dreams. He left a note saying he'd broken his leg and found the mine. Months later, his skull was found with a bullet hole. Some say greed blinded them. The superstitions live up to their name. Number 1. Kenny Veach. Kenny Veach wasn't just an average weekend hiker. He was obsessed with the unexplained and the wild, drawn to the Nevada desert like a moth to fire. In one of his YouTube videos, he spoke about finding a bizarre M-shaped cave near Nellis Air Force Base. He claimed it emitted a powerful vibrating sensation that made his entire body buzz so intense, he turned back. That story caught fire online. People urged him to go back. In November 2014, he did, and that was the last time anyone saw him. Days later, search crews found his phone near a remote cliff. But there was no sign of Kenny. No backpack, no footprints, no body. Some believe he found the cave again, and something happened. Government secrets, radiation, hidden tech, or worse. Others think it was an accident or that he wanted to disappear. But the area's proximity to Area 51 didn't help cool the speculation. Kenny vanished, chasing a mystery, and now he's part of one. We hope you've enjoyed this video. If you did, please like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more content like this. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you soon in the next one.